Welcome everybody.
Hello. Welcome to another MSI Insider live stream.
And Michiel's still adjusting his microphone.
I'm still putting my microphone on, everything. And I'm
here
to with the one and only Motherboard Destroyer. There he is.
What did you say?
No, nothing.
Oh, okay. Hey, my name is Erik.
Yeah,
what's your name?
Said my name is Mike.
Oh, okay. Good.
But of course, all our viewers know that by now, right?
Hi everybody, good to see you.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to the chat. If you have any questions in between, make sure to drop them in chat. Because today we're going to talk about some new motherboards.
That's a long time ago, right?
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
I mean, we talked about liquid cooling, power supplies, cases.
We had a lot of components, but motherboards have been a while. So of course you're familiar with Intel Z790 boards, and we have a full new lineup, also based on the Z790 chipset, but it's a new generation, our Z790 MAX models. So basically they're like improved versions of the Z790 models. But before we go into more details, we also have a nice giveaway today. So we will be giving there.
Yes.
Left, right, center, yeah, there. We're giving away several Exoprimal game
Not
codes.
several, well, it's always several, but I mean, I'm going to count, I'm going to give them away all. We're just going to clean house.
Yes, so make sure to participate. Go to msi.com/2/insider. Or if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, you can also follow the direct link that our bot puts in the chat once every 5 minutes. So make sure to participate. Hello everyone. Let me see. VNR Hacker says, can we go above 7200 with 4 slots DDR5? Just saying. Probably not. 4 DIMMs will put too much strain on a memory controller. You won't be able to do that that kind of frequency with 4 modules simultaneously. So no. These boards, some of them are rated for higher frequencies than 7200, but you will not be able to do that with 4 DIMMs. Also, the memory topology of all these boards is daisy chain, so they're not T topology, meaning that the DDR5 frequency support will be much higher when you're using 2 modules instead of 4 modules.
Is it for Arrow Lake? Actually, we're not allowed to talk about that. That's the funny thing about today. So. You're correct. I should let Mike talk in case we break NDA, so he gets the blame.
So you can blame me.
yeah. Again.
No, so this is already available with the 12th generation and the 13th generation Intel CPU.
Yeah.
And they will be compatible with a next generation Intel CPU.
Don't know the name.
Yeah. By the way, that also works the other way around. So if you already own a Z690 board or a Z790 board, you'll also be able to upgrade.
Yeah. So
actually, we already have the BIOS version available. So if you already own an MSI motherboard based on 600 or 700 series chipset, if you go to our website and check out the latest BIOS updates, then you can already prepare your motherboard.
Yeah, so also I believe if you buy currently a Z790 mainboard, the new BIOS is already on board. Because the BIOS are available from June or something?
Yeah, or maybe. Yeah, I think about July, I think.
Okay, July. Okay.
But also like some boards that you will find in the stores right now, Z790 boards, they indeed already come with the correct BIOS version. If they do, there is a sticker on the box saying that it's next gen compatible already.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean if it doesn't have the sticker, you can of course still upgrade it yourself to a newer BIOS version. But then the latest BIOS version is not on the motherboard yet out of the box.
And so that's quite easy. Just put the BIOS on a USB stick. We have a button on the back of the, I think most mainboards, right?
I think from what we have here today, all of them.
Yeah. We don't have all the mainboards here. I already see somebody asking for Godlike. It's not here.
That's indeed the one Max
They don't
model
give
we
us
don't
expensive stuff after the last live stream.
No, but also Godlike will be on the market a little bit later. There will be a Godlike though, and we will talk about it today. We'll go through the features, but unfortunately of that model we don't have a sample on hand yet. For the other models we do, so we'll show you those as well.
And so today only about mainboards, and yes, there will be a next gen CPU, and yes, when this will launch, we will also have a live stream talking about the benchmarks, the performance. Then probably Ruud will join, and yeah, you will know all the ins and outs for the CPU and performance-wise, because it's also related to memory.
Yeah. We cannot tell you yet when, but as soon as it's there, we will have a live stream. That's all we can say.
I was actually, so yesterday evening in Europe time, and then I think it was based in USA. Yesterday Intel had their Vision event where they announced all the new stuff, and then for their partners. Pat, their CEO, also had a keynote, and he announced a lot of new stuff. But the next gen desktop CPU was not mentioned there. And well, means they have a lot of more exciting stuff, too much to talk about. So I was a bit surprised, because normally I expected that in that event they would announce when this next gen would launch and when you could expect it in the stores or available for reviews. So we cannot talk about it, but in the future, not in the past.
FatDogs8 is asking, so no new, full new chipsets from Intel. That's refreshing. No, like this is still Z790. The boards will be a little bit upgraded, but that's mostly in terms of feature set. The chipset is still Z790.
Yeah, so from time to time, and this happens both for Intel and AMD, they don't see the need to introduce a new chipset. This means, I mean, a new chipset is only needed when either the CPU asks for it, so like DDR6, or when there is a new technology on the market like USB 5 or something like that, for which they need to create a new interface, they need extra pins or something like that. And most times the CPU will have different memory, power requirements, so you also see a different socket. Not the case this time.
Big Radio is asking in Twitch chat, forgive me if you already said this, but will most Z690 boards also support next gen or just Z790? Also Z690, and actually not most, but all of them. And the BIOS version is already available. You can already download it on our website to already be prepared for the next generation. Raihan says, when will Z890 release? I don't know, but not right now.
First of all, you know, this can be, the new chipset can be called like that, but you
maybe
never
they
know.
call it completely different.
Yeah, and yeah, that always depends on Intel's schedule.
Yeah. Also at this point, I really don't know, by the way, if they're going to go with Z890 or they're going to come up with a completely different name.
Yeah. Like you saw yesterday, they are calling their new mobile CPU Ultra. So they also go for a new branding. So this can also happen for the chipsets.
And this is also something that can change up to quite a far stadium in the process. So already development of new products is of course always ongoing, but that doesn't mean that they already know the actual name from the start. So they can actually still change it until quite late.
CJ Beal is correct, USB 5 will never exist, it will be USB V1, 1X1 and yeah, indeed. Yeah. Just to confuse everybody.
Yeah, USB naming is has been quite tricky, I totally agree.
Is Max about Godzilla? No, Max is of Godzilla.
Godzilla?
Yeah.
You've been watching Formula 1 at
Singapore? No, in the background.
Oh.
I know it's not Godzilla, it's more like a T-Rex. Anyway, is Max about godlike? No, Max is like a series which covers multiple members. So maybe let's start talking about it, which come with some extra features compared to last generation. So,
yeah,
Mike,
so Max is not a model. There are like Max versions of different models. So there is a godlike Max, and let me maybe already show you which Max models we have actually.
Oh,
other one. There we go.
Oh.
So as you can see, we have an MEG Z790 godlike Max. So basically, that's an improvement of the Z790 godlike motherboard. Then you have Ace Max, Carbon Max Wi-Fi, HTI Max Wi-Fi, Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi, and in the Pro series you also have the Pro Z790-A Max Wi-Fi. As you can see, all of them also have Wi-Fi, upgraded Wi-Fi, more about that later. But yeah, so it's not, Max is not a single model. Max is more like the complete series that we're currently launching. Later on in the stream, I actually have some more motherboards to show you that are not based on the Z790 chipset, but we also have some new models based on the B760 chipset. So some more new models there as well. Also a little bit higher end micro ATX motherboard there. That's a request we get quite often, like when will you come up with somewhat higher end micro ATX motherboards? and we do have one. It is B760, but still in terms
You
of
just
feature
said
set and
later a
everything,
new
it's-
chipset, so I think like it's a cliffhanger, and now you say B760.
Yeah, but still, like in terms of feature set, it's a higher precision board than we had so far. So
Yeah,
we, for
true.
example, had our mortar. We're gonna have a higher end micro ATX offering as well in this generation. Merrick says the naming is starting to feel like MSI monitors. What do you mean? MSI monitors
No,
has to have
no.
the easiest names to remember, right?
Yeah, no. I can tell you it's not like that. I mean, I can easy segment these, know where they're positioned, and in monitors, I'm lost.
Yeah, monitors is it's also it's a complicated one how to do it properly, because we actually had this discussion with our chat in the live stream earlier, and we also asked like how would you do it, and then people started thinking about it. Yeah, certain information I want to have in a name, like the size, and maybe I want to see if it's curved or not. And eventually they added up and almost got to the names that we were using. So it's really hard to do correctly. Also because there is like a full range of monitors, and some have like minor differences, like one has RGB, the other one doesn't. How do you differentiate those in terms of name? Stuff like that. It's not that you can have like one generic name for something and can base a whole line on that. So it's a hard one, but I agree that monitor names can be very confusing as well. Ryzen is asking, does Godlike Max have power routed to the iGPU? No. That one uses all the power stages on purpose, specifically for the CPU.
So you need a discrete GPU.
Yes. That also means that you cannot use an iGPU on the Godlike Max.
Yeah.
That's something to keep in mind. If you want to use that, go for a different model. But yeah, we really wanted to have the best possible VRM power solution for the CPU there. And we don't expect people to at least not use the iGPU actually for display output. Of course, you can also use QuickSync and stuff like that. This also means that you cannot use QuickSync, for example, on the Godlike. But that's a choice that we made on purpose to really get the best possible VRM for the CPU.
I found a screwdriver. Does it mean I can disassemble things today?
No.
Oh, why is it here then?
You better don't touch the samples today. It's always dangerous when you have a screwdriver.
Yeah, I just found it here on my desk. I was like, okay, cool.
Okay, let's go through the feature sets of these motherboards, so you can also see what has changed compared to the existing Z790 models. And we're going to start with connectivity. We're going to talk about Wi-Fi 7 solution, which is of course something new on these motherboards. With the existing generation Z790 motherboards, it's Wi-Fi 6E. This generation, still Z790 of course, but Z790 MAX will feature Wi-Fi 7. We also upgraded the storage a bit compared to the existing models, and some more possibilities for PCI Express Gen 5, a little bit faster DDR5 memory. We won't go into too much detail there. Later on when we have a live stream with next-gen Intel CPU, then we will dive deeper into that. But let's first take a look at Wi-Fi 7, because personally I believe this is like the biggest thing that has changed from the Z790 models to Z790 MAX. Wi-Fi 7 is actually quite an interesting thing because it's still a draft. There is no like final conclusion on Wi-Fi 7. So there are also different interpretations at the moment. Some a bit higher end, some a bit lower end. We actually went for quite a high-end version to make sure that once it's not a draft anymore and it's final, that we still expect to meet the Wi-Fi 7 requirements, of course. But Wi-Fi 7 compared to Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E, Wi-Fi 5, the biggest difference is the bandwidth. So in the solution we have on these motherboards, it can go up to 46 gigabits per second, which is a major increase over even Wi-Fi 6E. It uses the same frequency bands actually as Wi-Fi 6E. So Wi-Fi 6 only uses 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. Wi-Fi 6E adds the 6 gigahertz frequency band, and that's something you will also see in Wi-Fi 7. However, channel size doubled up to 320 megahertz instead of up to 160 megahertz. Modulation also upgraded from 1024 QAM to 4096.
Wireless VR, yeah.
So yeah, over the whole board, Wi-Fi will improve quite a lot with Wi-Fi 7. It's not a minor upgrade; it's a major upgrade, I would say. Here you see it basically compared to each other. So with Wi-Fi 6, you got 2.4 gigabytes per second, or gigabits per second, sorry. Wi-Fi 7, 5.8 gigabits per second. So that's a big difference. And that, of course, has to do a lot with the bandwidth you will have available with Wi-Fi 7 devices. We actually, I think at Computex we also had Wi-Fi 7 network devices, right, Eric?
Yeah, router indeed.
Yeah.
We don't know when this will hit the market. And in the beginning, these routers are very expensive. If you ask me, maybe too expensive. That's always the dilemma, what you're going to put at your home. I mean, are you going to invest for the future? But the future always, I mean, there will be probably Wi-Fi 7E and 9, I don't know. So,
but it's for Wi-Fi 7, it's still extremely early stage.
Yeah.
Also meaning that it is, over time, it will of course become cheaper. It was the same with Wi-Fi 6.
Yeah.
Like the first Wi-Fi 6 routers and stuff were very expensive. Nowadays, offering is a lot bigger, prices went down a lot. Of course, the same will happen with Wi-Fi 7.
I think you need to decide if you really need this, and I already saw Fat Docs 8 in the chat saying wireless VR, here we come. And indeed, this is perfectly for VR.
Yeah, basically everything you need, like extreme bandwidth for. It's a big leap from
and also a lot of devices,
yeah.
Multiple devices at the same time.
So, for example, with Wi-Fi 5 to Wi-Fi 6, at least from my perspective, the biggest upgrade was latency. I think latency in Wi-Fi 5 was a little bit lacking compared to Wi-Fi 6. With Wi-Fi 7, I would say the biggest upgrade, bandwidth. That's where you will see a huge increase.
And I think it's a matter of time. I'm not really keeping an eye on the mobile phone market, but I think there are not that many models with Wi-Fi 7. Did the new iPhone have Wi-Fi 7?
I'm not sure, actually. You mean the 15?
Yeah, I lost count.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's 6E, I remember. Yeah. They were not really clear about that, but in the end it was 6E.
Here you see a bit of a comparison between the 1024 QAM compared to 4096, and you basically see that you get a lot higher density, basically meaning you can transfer a lot more data. Also, the number of wireless devices with Wi-Fi 7 should increase quite a bit in terms of what you can properly support. Nowadays, more and more devices are using Wi-Fi. Also, if you're maybe into smart home, more and more of those devices. So we see that in general, in recent years, people have way more Wi-Fi devices connected than, let's say, 5 or 6 years ago. And probably this will also increase even further in the near future. So it is very important that those new devices, those new routers supporting Wi-Fi 7 are prepared also to support a ton of devices simultaneously.
Yeah, both CJ Beal and Mr. Masterdocs in Twitch are saying, I'm for the cable. I use cable internet. I totally understand that. I'm the same. I use a cable because if I'm on a Wi-Fi device and my internet is not working, it's directly like, hey, why is it not working, And with a cable, it basically always works. Although Wi-Fi is getting faster than cables, than cabled internet. If you talk about 1 gigabits per second.
Yeah, depends a bit. Like, for example, our Godlike board has 10 gigabit on board.
Yeah, sure.
Then, of course,
but you need to have
that's
your,
even
you
faster.
need to have your cabling. I think Cat 6E. What is it, E or A?
I think with Cat 6, regular Cat 6, you can do it if the distance is not too long.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But yeah, like
so you need to have the right
boards,
cabling, and of course you need to have a router which support it as well.
Or a switch or whatever you're using. Yeah.
And you need to have the uplink, because if your uplink is just fiber, 1 gigabit,
Or you need to have like other devices that can do it, because if you can have it on your computer, but if you're, for example, getting data from your server and that one is limited to 1 gigabit per second or 2.5 gigabit per second, you're not getting a 10 gigabit per second connection. So you need to have it on both ends. That's a major thing, of course.
Skeet is saying, my wife would kill me if I ran a cable from my bedroom to the modem downstairs. I was reading my Wi-Fi would kill me.
But that's a bit of the thing. Not everyone has the possibility to get a cable connection to their PCs.
Yeah. I just moved in a older house, so we moved, and I basically took out all the coax cables, which in Europe is used for television, and I replaced them with the internet cable. But yeah, it's not always easy, you know.
Yeah, especially in older houses, it tends to be a bit more difficult. At least in the Netherlands, many modern houses, they're actually already prepared a bit that you can draw extra cables through the house.
Yeah, empty lines in the walls.
You can add them later on if you want it, but that's not the case everywhere. So yeah, personally I agree that if you have the opportunity to have a cable connection, in terms of maybe not always in terms of speed, because even if you have like a 2.5 gigabit, Wi-Fi 7 can be quite a bit faster than a 2.5 gigabit line. But in terms of stability, cable is always your best bet. But yeah, then of course you need to have that possibility in order to do so. Eric, are you familiar with the WAF? Because that's kind of what... let me see, who was talking about it?
The what?
Skeets was talking about it. The WAF.
Yeah.
The wife acceptance
factor. Yeah, I know.
And that's always the thing of it with cables. Cables running through the house.
Yeah.
That usually doesn't score well on the scale of WAF.
Okay, Mike. You remember in the beginning of the stream I was saying a few weeks ago we didn't put TikTok live?
You forgot it again? Really?
Okay. Hey, we're going live on TikTok. Last time they missed the interesting part and only saw the gameplay. Anyway, I'm going to fix this.
Okay. Welcome TikTok.
No, well, they still don't see anything yet. They still need to fix it.
Okay. Then I will already continue with our updated antenna. For our higher end models, we already had like a pretty high-end antenna. So I'm quickly gonna bother Eric for a second to see if he can switch to my close-up cam.
Yeah, he did it.
So this is the antenna you would already get with the higher end motherboards. So it's already on a stand and already very suitable for Wi-Fi 7 as well. Our more affordable motherboards come with these kind of antennas. And actually recently, my colleague from our headquarters in Taiwan, she had an awesome name for this. She called it chopstick antennas. So that's from now on, I think, what I will use as well. But basically, these are, they're more entry-level antennas compared to an antenna like this. And for Wi-Fi 7, we also wanted to improve the antenna. The high-end models will still come with this one, but we also have an upgraded antenna as a replacement of the chopstick antennas. And that's this one, which is also a standing antenna that you can, for example, put on your desk or on top of your PC in order to give you better reception than the chopstick antennas. This one, for the Z790 MAX models, will be included with the MAG Z790 Tomahawk MAX Wi-Fi and the Pro Z790-A MAX Wi-Fi. This one, the standing one with the magnetic base, is included with the Godlike, with the Ace, with the Carbon and the HTI MAX Wi-Fi. So Eric, you still didn't get TikTok to work?
No. They're asking for usernames and stuff.
Can you switch back to my slide? Oh, I just lost the cable that I wanted to show you later. Let me quickly dive that up. There we go. Good. So, so much for the Wi-Fi. You already mentioned some of you prefer to have a cable connection. Of course, there are also some possibilities for that. All Z790 MAX motherboards come with at least Intel 2.5 gigabit LAN. Basically for all boards apart from the MEG models, so the enthusiast level models, come with a single Intel 2.5 gigabit LAN port. For the Ace, which is of course an MEG model, it has dual Intel 2.5 gigabit LAN. So let me show you up close. There we go. So you see two LAN ports here. And then Godlike, unfortunately I don't have the model on hand right now, but that also comes with dual LAN ports, but in this situation it's one 10 gigabit per second port based on a Marvel controller, I believe, and also Intel 2.5 gigabit LAN. Both MEG models, so both the Godlike and the Ace, also come with dual Thunderbolt 4 ports. Then we have an upgrade for our Carbon, because Carbon is not a motherboard that supports Thunderbolt, but we did want to upgrade the USB capabilities of this board. And actually it comes with a very nice add-in card. It's a USB 4 PD 100 watt expansion card. And as the name already implies, it supports USB 4, it supports 100 watt power delivery, so you can also charge your device through this add-in card. And the add-in card itself offers two times USB 4 Type-C, and it also has DisplayPort inputs, and that basically means that you can connect your graphics card to this add-in card, and then through a single cable you can both power a monitor but also get the display signal through the same USB-C cable. Of course your monitor also has to support this in order to use this, but that way you can run the monitor off a single cable. Because of the power delivery capabilities, it has 100 watts on one port and 27 watts on the other port. It's not enough to power it just through the PCI Express slot, so it has an additional PCIe graphics power connector. So you can get enough power for that USB power delivery as well. So this is an accessory specifically for the MPG Z790 Carbon MAX Wi-Fi motherboard.
Yeah, before this live stream, Mike and I were discussing like what are the standards on phones. For example, I have a Xiaomi phone which uses a 67 watt adapter. But I was asking, like, is this PD, power delivery? So would it be compatible for that? I also have a notebook, like, my notebook died. Don't ask me how. Well, it didn't die, you know, it was damaged. Okay, okay, I'll be honest.
Did you throw with it?
Yeah, I mean, dropped it, more or less. Anyway, so this other notebook is also quite a modern one, and it wasn't charging via Type-C. So I was confused, a bit confused. So. And actually we found out it is charging, but first I need to boot it up via the adapter or something, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, what is the direction? I mean, we saw Apple also introducing Type-C. Are they using power delivery? Not really clear, because they're charging on, what was Apple doing? 25 watt or something?
I'm not sure what they do. But like before, the reason that they went to Type-C, of course, has to do with the rules in Europe. Yeah, European. They kind of got forced to use USB Type-C on the most recent models, so that also chargers and stuff have to be interchangeable in between. Oh,
20 watt I9K is saying.
Okay. But yeah, also in terms of smartphone charging, there are many different kinds of charging. A very famous one is, for example, Quick Charge from Qualcomm. Yeah. But also several brands have their own techniques. So
that was in the past. Each basically company had their own technology.
Yeah, their own quick charge technology indeed. So for example, Oppo has like VOOC, I think.
Because quick charge is from Qualcomm. Not?
What's with the quick charge?
Quick charge, that's a standard from Qualcomm.
Yeah, quick charge is from Qualcomm.
So that would only work with a Snapdragon.
Yes. I think so. Yeah, I don't think you can use that.
And
if
probably,
you have
some people made it compatible or something on other chipsets or mobile, or what is it, mobile? I mean, ARM.
And for example, Quick Charge, they use a relatively high voltage, and that way they create the higher wattage, because of course voltage times the amperage is your wattage. But for example, Oppo, but also OnePlus, they use like the VOOC kind of standard, or dash charge. At least they used to. I'm not sure if they still do nowadays. But they do it the other way around. So the voltage is still relatively low, but they use a very high amperage. The difference is there that the heat will be in the charger instead of the smartphone. But because they function so differently, if you use a VOC charger on a quick charge device, it will charge quite slowly. Also, if you do it the other way around, if you use a quick charge charger on like a OnePlus or an Oppo smartphone, it will also charge slowly. And the thing with power delivery is that it's more compatible in between devices. So compatible in between different smartphones. Also tablets are using this more and more, but it goes way further than just mobile devices. So for example, Eric's notebook also uses power delivery, meaning you can use the same charger basically. Of course, it has to be able to provide enough power. So if you use a high
that's
wattage,
the problem.
yeah, that's the thing. Like if you use like a very low power charger that is only meant for a smartphone, you can still charge your notebook with it, but it will just take a very, very long time. And if you're actually running it at full load, you may actually lose battery percentage, even though you're at on a charger. But more and more devices use this. I know, for example, the Steam Deck from Valve also uses power delivery. All those kind of devices use power delivery nowadays. So this is a very useful feature to have, I would say.
Yeah, it's a good development. I mean, everybody on the same connector, and the connector is not only limited to PD or power charging and Type-C, but also DisplayPort is on there. What we see with things like Thunderbolt.
Some people may be wondering, like this is an add-in card, so you have it on the back of your PC. Like if you want to charge your smartphone, maybe it might not be too useful if it's on the back of your PC. But actually our MEG models, so our Godlike and our Ace models, they also support power delivery over the front USB Type-C. Just before we go any further, you also need a compatible case for this. So for example, the MEG Prospect 700R supports this. Not all cases do, so that's something to keep in mind. But if you combine one of these motherboards with a compatible case, then you can also get up to 60 watt power delivery over the front USB Type-C. So for example, if you want to charge a notebook, a Steam Deck, your smartphone, a tablet, whatever you want to use with it, you can also do it through your front connector. Something to keep in mind here is also, if you want to use the 60 watt power delivery, also use the separate PEG connector on the motherboard. So there's a 6-pin power connector there, the same one you will know from graphics cards. And with that connected, it's able to provide 60 watt power delivery. You can still use it if you don't connect this power connector, but then it will only go up to 27 watts. And that may be enough for a smartphone, but maybe not for a notebook or a Steam Deck or whatever. Yeah,
also the fact that you only see this on 2 models, on Godlike and Ace. It's in the high-end models you can find this feature. Also indicates that it's still quite expensive. And you know, I don't know any cost price or something, but I can only imagine this kind of power running it through your PCB. You need to have either extra layers or you need to isolate that really well.
It also takes a bit of space, because of course you need the header, but now you also need a separate power connector. You need the circuitry. So these are extended ATX motherboards. There it's relatively easy because you have the space for it. But of course on a smaller motherboard this may be a bit more troublesome. But I expect this to eventually go into more models in the future. But at this point it's already present in our high-end MEG models.
People are asking questions about the add-in card.
Yes.
Which connector, how many PCI Express slots?
Let me quickly go back to the add-in card. I'm actually not, I think it's a ×4, but I'm not entirely sure on this one.
Yeah, looks like that.
That's a good question, but I think it's ×4.
They didn't give you this kind of sample, right?
Sorry?
They didn't give you the complete retail box.
No,
just some
I don't have this expansion card here yet.
No.
I do have the carbon motherboard, but the expansion card comes included in the box there. I just have the motherboard as a separate thing here. What were the other questions, apart from the how many lanes?
Well, you know, there was a discussion going on, would this fit next to your GPU, because GPUs are
let me quickly show you the carbon and where you would put the add-in card, for example. So here we have our carbon motherboard, and as you can see it has a PCI Express slot on the very bottom where you could put it. Then you would still have 1, 2, 3, 4 slots at least for a graphics card.
So luckily SLI is a thing from the past.
Yeah. But yeah, with a single graphics card, even a 4090 Supreme would still fit if you have that add-in card in. So you shouldn't run into too many issues with the graphics card and this add-in card.
Okay.
Then let's go to storage, because this is also where we made a couple of upgrades compared to the existing Z790 motherboards. And the biggest upgrades are with our Edge model and our Tomahawk model. In our existing Z790 generation, these models go up to PCI Express Gen 4. With the Z790 MAX models, we also upgraded these with support for PCI Express Gen 5. That means that all gaming models in the Z790 MAX series support PCI Express Gen 5, M.2 storage, for the Pro motherboard, so the Z790 MAX Wi-Fi, there it's still limited up to PCI Express Gen 4 for the M.2. It doesn't mean that all the slots on these motherboards are Gen 5. Unfortunately, we don't have enough PCI Express Gen 5 lanes available from the CPU in order to do so. But at least you will find at least one PCI Express Gen 5 M.2 slot on all gaming models.
Yeah, and I think if you look to the availability of Gen 5 PCI Express M.2 SSDs, this is also a thing for the future. So you always see that first. Basically, the chipset or the platform offers limited number of PCI Express lanes. So we basically have to make the choice to sacrifice some features to offer PCI Express Gen 5. Then the next platform has some extra PCI Express lanes that you can offer one slot. And now, more and more slots will be Gen 5 on the boards. And on some boards, you can still have the mix of one, I'm not going to name numbers because I don't know, several Gen 5, several Gen 4, and maybe even several Gen 3.
Yeah. In terms of quantity, Godlike offers 7 M.2 slots, Ace has 5, Carbon has 5, Edge has 5, Tomahawk 4, and the Pro -A model also has 4 M.2 slots in total. Then let's go to performance, of course, also a big topic.
Sorry, Mike, one
yes.
A question on YouTube from Nicholas. He's asking how many M.2 ports could you use while still keeping room for the GPU?
How many M.2 slots could you use while still keeping...
Can you maybe go back to the last slide? So if we're talking about these boards, all of these slots can work at the same time and you can still use your GPU.
Yes.
And also the second PCI Express slot will function. So there is no shared...
So basically you have 16 5.0 lanes available for either 1 or 2 GPUs. So if you decide to use dual GPU, then you will divide them over those 2 slots. So you will have times 8 times 8. If you use a single, you will have times 16. Yes, then let's continue to performance. And let's first take a look at the VRM. Of course, VRM is basically the power delivery to different components on your motherboard, but also to your CPU. So the CPU is the major thing, of course, within your VRM. And Godlike, for example, offers a 26 105 amp smart power stages specifically for that CPU. You also see VGT, that's basically the power stage that powers the iGPU. And for Godlike, you see there is a 0 there because all those power stages, those 26, are powering the CPU to really get like the maximum possible VRM for the CPU. But that means you cannot use the iGPU on the Godlike. That's different on the other boards. So for example, Ace has a +1 for the VGT. That one can use the iGPU. Same goes for all other models. They do have a power stage to power an iGPU. So it's specifically Godlike that doesn't have this, and that's just in order to be able to get maximum V-Core VRM fitted on this motherboard for the CPU. Ace offers 24 105 amp smart power stages for the CPU. Carbon 19 105 amp smart power stages. Edge 16 90 amp. Tomahawk also 1690 amp, and the Pro has 1680 amp. As you can see, even the Pro model at 16 times 80 amp smart power stages is already an extremely high-end VRM. So even if you want to use like a high-end Core i9 CPU on a Pro motherboard, you can do that. Why would you want to have an overkill VRM then? Basically, overclocking is the main thing there. If you're gonna run a non-K CPU, if you're not interested in overclocking, it doesn't make sense to have like an extreme VRM. This is like Godlike. You don't need to run if you're gonna run a CPU at stock. You don't need this kind of VRM. ControlSoft is asking, is Carbon an 8-layer PCB? I know for sure that Godlike and
You
Ace
don't have your number of layer overview?
Oh, I don't think I have it in these slides.
Okay.
But let me double check later on. I'm certain that that at least Ace and Godlike are 8-layer PCBs. But let me double check later on. I will get back to this later.
Ian9K on Twitch is asking, do you guys know when these boards will be on the MSI website? I think they should be online today.
Yeah, not
Some of them.
yeah,
Some of
could
them.
be.
Not sure.
They will pop up in the coming days. I would assume.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. Let me see. Uncle Elias says, "Force you can sell." Okay, that's a discussion with CJ Bale. Okay, let's continue to cooling. And here you see what kind of different kinds of cooling you can find on certain models. In this example, it's a godlike. There you will find a very big aluminum cover, and in there you have a U-shaped VRM heatsink. It has fin-stacked heatsink, and that's in order to increase surface area, because by having those individual fins, you create a bigger surface area than when you have one aluminum block, for example. Bigger surface area usually makes heat dissipation more efficient. In there you will also find dual heat pipes, and they're direct touch cross heat pipes, and they're also in a U shape. And the reason for that is also that the VRM components on the MEG models, so both Ace and Godlike, are in a U shape. So I have, for example, have Edge here. Basically here you get a corner with the VRM components. So you have VRM components on the top and VRM components on the side. And for the VRM components that you will find on this motherboard, that's enough. But because we wanted to fit even more VRM components on the Godlike and the Ace, we cannot fit anymore. As you can see, this is completely cramped already with all the VRM components. So we made a U shape, meaning you will also find VRM components here. So it's basically the VRM components go all around, and also the heat pipe goes all around. It may be a little bit hard to see, but right in between. Harry, can you remove that one?
Wait, one moment. I'm updating our name tag.
Yeah,
Ralph is
indeed.
still here.
This is a bit outdated.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try to show you the heat pipe. As you can see, it runs in between, so it stretches all the way also over these VRM components. So the U shape is specifically something you will find on Godlike and Ace. The other one will just have it in a regular corner shape that you're probably familiar with from your own motherboard. It also has 7W MK thermal pads, so they're improved thermal pads with choke pads. So basically this means that there are not only thermal pads on the power stages, but there are also thermal pads in between the heatsink and the chokes of the VRM. And it's not specifically that the chokes themselves produce a lot of heat, because the heat is really produced in those power stages, but because the chokes are located so close to the power stages, they kind of absorb some of the heat of the whole area. And by having those thermal pads also on the chokes, it also helps to lower the temperature of the whole VRM area, including the smart power stages. So the choke thermal pad is actually relatively easy to see. Here you see the chokes, and I shouldn't have picked a silver motherboard because the thermal pad is kind of grayish. Let me grab our Tomahawk motherboard.
Yeah, it's like chewing gum, but you should not use it like chewing gum.
So as you can see, in between the heatsink and the chokes, there is also a thermal pad. And the same here on the top heatsink. There you also see the thermal pad. So that's all to increase that surface area for cooling, so you get the most efficient heat dissipation to the heat sinks on the motherboard.
Do you have a GPU on hand so we can see how easy access the latch?
No, I don't have a GPU on hand at the moment.
Let me check here. Normally we have GPUs lying around, but not now.
No, I don't see one.
No,
sorry. Only motherboards today.
Yeah, I don't want to destroy this GPU here.
No, don't destroy the system. That's already. So here you see the heat pipe design that we just talked about. So you get the U-shaped model with dual heat pipes for the Godlike and the Ace, and the Carbon and the Edge also have a heat pipe in their VRM cooling solution. That's not the case for the Tomahawk and the Pro model, because those only have the aluminum heat sinks. They don't have a heat pipe within that heatsink. M.2 shield frother, we have a ton of them on the Z790 MAX motherboards. So starting with Godlike, it has 7 M.2 slots, all of them
Maybe first explain what it does.
Well, it depends on which version you have. So M.2
Well,
shield
I mean,
frother,
it's for cooling the M.2.
yeah,
That's
it's
what
cooling
I mean.
the M.2 SSD. It's also to protect the M.2 SSD. You have like a regular M.2 shield frother, which you will find, for example, on our Pro model, but also on certain slots on Edge and Tomahawk. And that one cools the top of the SSD. However, nowadays more and more SSDs are dual-sided, meaning they also have chips on the bottom of the SSD. Of course, those chips will also produce heat, so it's also beneficial to cool the SSD from the bottom side. That's why on more and more motherboards we're introducing double-sided M.2 shield frother. And let me show you what that looks like. So here I have our Edge model. So this is the M.2 shield frother heatsink. As you can see, you have a thermal pad on this side, but there is actually also kind of a heatsink underneath. So it's not just a thermal pad, but there's actually like a sheet of metal underneath as well, with a thermal pad, of course. So an SSD also gets cooled from the other side. This is, for example, our Edge motherboard. So this one only has it on a primary slot. The other M.2 shield frothers are regular ones, so they only cool it from the top.
In the previous generation, you could find this kind of feature only on like Godlike.
No, we had it a bit, but not on as many slots as nowadays. Yeah, we're introducing it on more and more models.
Yeah. How do you say it? Trickling down?
Sorry?
Trickling down?
Yeah. Like you see it on more and more models. You mean also on the more affordable models.
Yeah.
So basically, Tomahawk already has this feature, only on the primary slot. Same goes for Edge. The Pro model only has single-sided M.2 shield frother. Godlike and Ace, and Carbon, by the way, all of them have dual-sided M.2 shield frother on all of their M.2 slots. Of course, the M.2 slots themselves can be different PCI Express generations, so still properly match it with the SSD you're using. But in terms of cooling, dual-sided on all slots.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, the faster the SSDs get, the more benefit you will have from this. So if you have in Gen 3 SSDs, it really will not make that much difference.
Also, the higher end ones, they tend to consume a bit more power in general.
And generate heat.
And generate heat because of it. And also, because SSDs are getting so big nowadays, you need more flash chips. That's why both sides are
big
populated.
in storage size.
Yeah, storage size.
Big, so, I mean like M.2, 200 millimeter.
Yeah, but that's a bit of the thing, because like the 2280 is kind of the standard size for an M.2 SSD nowadays. So we, for example, have our Spatium M480 SSDs. If you have the 1 terabyte model, you need fewer flash chips than if you have a 2 terabyte model. So the 1 terabyte model is actually a single-sided SSD.
I mean, some brands, or cheap ones, they use different flash chip configurations as well, right?
Yeah, it depends a bit. Like you can stack as well with memory, but at a certain point, if you basically want to have maximum storage on an SSD, you're going to populate both sides with flash chips. Yeah. So that's something you see. Like also in our SSD lineup, M480 2 terabyte has chips on both sides, and the 480 1 terabyte model has chips on one side. So the 1 terabyte model would not benefit from dual-sided M.2 shield frother as much as the 2 terabyte model. But yeah, it all depends on the specific SSD you're using, whether or not a double-sided SSD will make a big difference for you.
Oh, a lot of questions. Sorry, I didn't have the chat open for some minutes. A complaint. We like complaints.
Yes.
That's how we can improve our products. I like to complain a bit about the aluminium cover near the I/O. Everybody puts a cover for the branding or LEDs. Doesn't that restrict some airflow there? Actually, it is for transfer of the heat. So, Mike, can you show extended heatsink?
Yeah. So
or maybe aluminium. Maybe you was talking about your silver model.
Yeah, we have.
Not sure.
There we go. So you mean this one? This indeed has, I think it also has RGB in this. I'm pretty sure actually. So indeed there is like a sheet on top of the aluminum heatsink. Yeah. Still, the VRM cooling on this is already so good that it's no problem at all. There is a very high-end VRM. This one, for example, also has an additional heat pipe in there. So
maybe Mike, can you show that from the back side?
Yes. Or do you want to see
The top side. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. It's a bit hard to see the heat pipe because the heat pipe is kind of located
but you can see it's
Yeah.
basically a heat sink hidden. And I mean, like your question would suggest somehow, it's like, oh, want
let's
more
compare
place
it to
put our
the
logo
Tomahawk
on.
quickly, because Tomahawk does not have like LED stuff. So this is
No.
only metal. But this one, for example, doesn't have a heat pipe. So it's all about the total cooling setup. So
Yeah.
the Edge is a higher end model. It does have some RGB on top, which you could say like would hurt cooling performance. But to make sure it's not an issue at all, we have placed a heat pipe in there. So it is upgraded from another perspective.
Yeah, so it's not that we started like, okay, where can we put some large surface that we can put a nice logo on or a big logo? It basically started, how can we improve cooling? And then, okay, well, let's put some logo here. And, you know, after logo, next step is RGB.
But the thing is, it would hurt more if the VRM would have been more limited or you wouldn't have a heat pipe. Then, of course, it could become an issue if you put like a plastic sheet on top with RGB lighting and stuff. So this is something you will generally only find on the higher end models that also offer additional cooling solutions for the VRM, like, for example, a heat pipe. Certain models have the FinStack heatsink, all those kind of things.
Did you say CPUs are not going to be power efficient? I think they will be more power efficient, but still use more power. They're two separate things.
They are indeed two separate things. Yeah.
Anyway, will MSI be looking at solid state coolers for onboard components in the future? We discussed this. To be honest, I don't know what R&D is doing with it. But yeah, you know, it's still quite expensive, those kind of solutions. It looks interesting, but only for certain applications. Like, I mean, they had some demos. I don't know which event it was, maybe CES or Computex.
I think Computex, the mini PC, I think, had it.
Yeah, there was a mini PC which had it indeed, but they also had some demos for SSDs.
Yeah.
So, but it's still quite expensive. So, and I think the mini PC was more for industrial usage. There you can afford, but for consumer market, the cost you can make is much more.
So maybe we will have this in the future, but indeed it has to become more affordable than it currently is.
And also available for mass production.
Yeah, that's also indeed. But also that's very much tied to something become more affordable.
Yeah.
If something is only produced in very limited quantity, it tends to be more expensive. But also it has to make sense. Like if there is no real benefit for having solid state cooling over current type of cooling, then of course it doesn't make sense to use it if it is more expensive. Then it's only going to drive up the price of the product. Let me see, Unreal 2, how many case fans can be plugged into the motherboard? The case I have has 6 case fans installed in there. Depends on the model. So some boards have more headers, some have fewer. However, the fan headers on these boards are relatively powerful, so you can power multiple fans of them. So let's say, for example, you have 3 fans in the front of your case. You can use an adapter cable to combine them together, so you can put them on one header. I would always recommend to group them based on how they are located in your case, because in the BIOS, of course, you still have some fan control available, and the fan in the rear should be doing something else than the fans in the front. So I would group, for example, the 3 fans in the front, or 2, or whatever you have, the 2 or 3 at the top, and the 1 at the rear. So basically, in that situation, you would need at least 3 headers. But 1 fan header can easily power 3 fans. Yeah. So if you have 6 fans in total, each of these Z790 boards could power all of them, but in certain situations you would need an adapter cable in order to split it.
Is there going to be a Z790 Mini ITX? No, but later we're going to talk about a B760 Mini ITX. Will the Z790 MAX have any improvements in memory? Yes, but we cannot talk about it today because we're not allowed to talk about performance. Otherwise Intel will call us.
Yes.
And then they're not friendly. Normally they're friendly, but Let me see. Mike, do you know this? Do all motherboards have clips on both sides of the memory? So you can show this
I
probably?
have the boards in front of me. Ace doesn't. Carbon doesn't, only on one side.
Yeah. Maybe you can show in the detailed cam what the question is.
So
this is to easy insert RAM.
Yeah, so this is for example our Edge motherboard and it has clips on either side of the RAM slot. Our Ace, for example, has clips on one side. So you put the module in and you click it on one side basically. And you can also push it down here. You will hear a total click for the module, but you only have a clip on one side. So if you want to take your module out, you only open it from the bottom and then you can take out your memory module. So it depends per model. From what I can see here, the MAG, the Pro, the MAG and the MPG models, oh no, that's not entirely true. Carbon, it's actually MEG and Carbon. They have it on one side, the other boards have it on both sides.
Will this new motherboard support Intel Gen 14 CPUs? We don't know because we don't know how the next generation is called and we're not allowed to talk about it. So yes, they will support the next generation Intel CPUs.
Yep.
Which will launch this year, not like something in 5 years' time.
Maybe they call it 20th gen.
Who knows? Who knows? So many comments in the chat. Okay, Mike, maybe you continue. I will pick out some.
Extended heatsink, we already talked about it a bit when talking about the cover. But extended heatsink basically means, can you go to the close-up one?
Yeah, sorry.
Extended heatsink basically means that the heatsink extends all the way over the I/O of the motherboard. So even though the VRM components are basically located here, and underneath here you have all the connectors like the USB, the HDMI DisplayPort, as you can see here. The heatsink stretches all the way over them. And that's of course to increase the surface area and help with the heat dissipation of the VRM components. An extended heatsink is something you will find on the Carbon, the Edge, the Tomahawk and the Pro-A model.
Any news about new AMD boards? Not today.
No, not at the moment.
No.
But as soon as we do, we will let you know.
But this will take...
Meantime review, can I get a shout out? Of course, there you go, Meantime review.
I think, new AMD boards, this will still take some time. Because what I know from the roadmap, on short term.
We already talked about cooling a bit, about fan control. And this fan control goes a little bit further than what we already mentioned, because we also have Frozr AI cooling, and this is something that you will find in MSI Center. It's a module there and it gives you more precise control over your fans. You also have different presets there, so performance, silent, manual mode. Manual mode, of course, you can just put it the way you prefer to have it yourself. Silent mode will make your system a little bit more quiet, so the fans will run at a slower speed. But of course that comes at the cost of slightly higher temperatures, whereas performance is the other way around. Your fans will spin faster, will be a bit louder, but you will get a bit better cooling. So this way you can fine-tune the cooling based on your wants and needs. If you always game with the headset on your head and you don't care about noise, you can just put it on performance. If your computer is in a living room, maybe the silent profile is a better option. In our BIOS, we also have CPU cooler tuning, and those are basically presets based on the cooling you're using. So whether you're using a boxed cooler or like a tower air cooler or an all-in-one liquid cooler, there are presets there that will adjust your power limits based on the cooler. Of course, you can also manually set your power limits, because one tower air cooler can be different than another one. One is smaller, one is bigger. Same for all-in-one liquid coolers. It makes quite a bit of a difference whether you're using a 120mm radiator or a 360mm radiator. So if you want to fine-tune that further, of course, it's always possible also to manually set those power limits within the BIOS. This is just a way to make it a bit easier for people who are not very experienced with this, but still want to have like a proper power limit set in a very easy way.
Stop. We are going to do some giveaway, Mike.
Good idea.
It's overdue already.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are giving away Exo Primal game codes. Make sure to participate. If you haven't done so, go to msi.com/2/insider. Or if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, follow the direct link.
Or TikTok.
Or
Oh, no.
No. We don't have a bot running on TikTok.
No.
So TikTok viewers, go to msi.com/2/insider.
They missed the whole part.
YouTube and Twitch can follow a direct link that a bot puts in the chat once every 5 minutes. So Eric, who is our next winner for
Not
game
only
code?
next, it's the first today, the second and the third, because I just,
Oh,
I
you're
draw.
generous today.
Sorry?
You're generous today.
No, the system is.
Oh, the system is.
Because you continue talking.
I thought you were doing a giveaway so I could have some drink.
Yeah, okay. So first winner, Path of Sky, congrats. Second winner, the
Congratulations.
Traveler, congrats. He's awake early. And Farmalot, I know his name, I saw him before. Congrats.
So congratulations, Path of
With
Sky,
loyalty
the Traveler,
bonus.
and
Thank you.
Farmalot. You all won a game code for Exo Primal. So please keep an eye out on your mailbox. And we'll
And
email
not
the codes
only
to you
that,
in the
I'm
coming days.
going to try to put some other game in. I still have some old game codes. If they work, you're lucky. Yesterday we tested some and they work, but maybe you're not lucky. And I mean, don't complain about it if it doesn't work. But we'll put some other codes in there as well, just to
You
clean-
found a
clean
hidden
house.
stash of game codes somewhere.
Yeah. I was looking in the files like, is this? I mean, it was like 1 year overdue, but
Okay.
it seems to work. So why not make some people happy with it?
You may also be noticing that...
No, the one I tested doesn't work anymore.
But yeah, you may also be noticing that for certain regions, we unfortunately had to disable the giveaway possibility.
Yeah.
Has to do with certain rules in certain region,
Yeah,
but also
tax
that
rules.
certain codes don't work in specific regions.
Yeah.
We always, when we send out our codes, we always put a disclaimer in there. It sometimes changes. So for example, quite often we have Steam Wallet codes. They are worldwide codes, but some regions are excluded. So if we get messages from a specific region that we're pretty certain that those codes don't work in a certain region, unfortunately we have to exclude certain regions from the giveaway. Of course, we don't want to send you codes that don't work for you.
Marcus thinks he's the first one from Sweden in the chat. Well, okay, maybe in Twitch.
Welcome, welcome.
Okay.
I'm not
Mike?
sure if the only one from Sweden. We will find out in a minute probably. If
Yeah,
someone
I saw already
responds,
some
I was already
other people before. Okay, Mike, you can continue.
Yes, then let's go to the total experience because we do have a ton of features for that as well. Of course, user
No, US
experience.
is not included.
What's
Oh,
that?
sorry, US is not excluded, sorry.
No, US is not.
One of the
excluded,
winners I just drew was also from the US.
yeah. US is in there.
Yeah.
Mr. Masterdog says knekkenbread. On our boards, we have a ton of very handy small features. Here you see a quick overview of all the stuff that you can, for example, find on our Ace motherboard. So as you can see, they're very stacked with usability features now. If you can look at specific models, you also have more specific features. So for example, the backplate design is something you will find in our MEG models like Ace and Godlike. So for example, I have Ace here, you see a big backplate on the back. Godlike also comes with an M-Vision dashboard, small LCD screen. We'll talk about that in a bit as well. The USB 4 power delivery 100 watt adding card we already talked about. That's an accessory for the Carbon motherboard. The gaming models also come with a USB drive with drivers and utilities on there. However, personally, I would always recommend download the latest drivers and utilities from our website because, of course, the USB drive, the drivers that are put on there were put on there when the motherboard was released. And in the meanwhile, we're of course developing these further and further, so you may have a newer version available on our website. So that's always what I would recommend. It's the same with graphics card, for example. You always had the driver CD in the box. Just get the latest drivers from the website, so you don't run into any issues there. Another accessory for the gaming models is the easy front panel cable. Many people were complaining about the JFP1 header where you have to put in the power button and the reset button and the power LED. I know Eric is also always struggling with this because it's in a
Not
quite...
struggling.
It can be quite a complicated location and it's usually a bit harder accessible in certain cases, for example. With this cable, you can just do it, for example, outside of your case, and then you just put in the cable and plug everything in at once.
It's still a nightmare. I mean, they should make a new standard for this.
Yeah, I think it should be just one plug in general.
Yeah. But the problem is
that's kind of
you
what
need
you're
to
doing
co-work
here.
with the whole industry and with not only the mainboard vendors but also the case vendors and come up with one standard.
But this way, kind of, you do make it one plug already. It's just that from your case, you often have separate cables. Then you kind of bundle them on this cable, but you can do this in a more accessible place, and then you plug everything in at once. So I agree, it's still not a perfect solution, but at least it makes the building process a little bit nicer.
Yeah. The one
Michael is
stream,
asking, will there be a Z790 Unify X Max?
No,
Maybe in the
not at
future,
this
not at
moment.
this point, but maybe. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
Beantime Review says, please exclude Canada. Don't you like Canada? You don't want Canadians to win in your live stream? So we already touched on the M-Vision dashboard. This is an accessory specifically included with Godlike. And the M-Vision dashboard is a 4.5-inch IPS touchscreen. And this can indicate the status of your PC, but you can also do several system operation things, so like reboot it, boot it up, all those kind of things. And you can do some customization on there as well. So let's quickly have a look at some of the features that you can find for the M-Vision dashboard. If my slide, yeah, there we go. So system operation, you have several features there. You have system information, so what are my CPU temperatures, what are my fan speeds, all those kind of things. If something overheats, you get a warning on it. You can also do debugging through the M-Vision dashboard actually. So for example, there is an issue with your VGA, you will get a message on the M-Vision dashboard that your VGA is the issue while your system is not properly booting, for example. You can also use it when you flash your BIOS to see how far the flashing process is. You can use it for very handy things, just like a clock or like a weather widget, a countdown timer if you're making a frozen pizza and you want to make sure it's not black when you take it out. So a lot of different things you can do. Media controls.
Yeah, I think if people want to see that, they should look at our old Z790 live stream, because we now don't have it on hand. And there we basically showed...
We've also demonstrated this in practice as well.
Yeah.
The cool thing about the M-Vision dashboard on these latest generations is that it's kind of an external screen, so it's not like fixed on the motherboard, it's an external thing, and you can magnetically stick it on your case, for example. You can also put it on your desk, whatever you like best. I think it's a pretty cool device.
That it is.
CJ Bill says having to fiddle with the tiny individual front panel connectors is a nightmare. Yes, I totally agree. They're very small, and especially if you're not familiar with the exact location for each of those headers, it can be a little bit tricky to do those kind of things. Schnips86 is asking, is that basically the size of a SATA SSD? I would say it's pretty comparable, right, Eric? The M-Vision dashboard, in terms of size.
In height, yeah.
It's a bit thicker than a SATA SSD because there's also a small speaker in there. So for example, when your system boots up, you hear a lucky roar through the speaker of your M-Vision dashboard, which is a pretty cool thing, I think. But it's a bit thicker than a SATA SSD. But in terms of size, I would say it's kind of comparable, yes. CJ Bill says, MSI case where the front panel is a huge display you can customize with a lot of info like that. Actually, our Prospect 700R case has a screen in the front. It's not a huge screen, but there is a nice screen in the front where you can do similar things as with the M-Vision dashboard. Then let's continue to some more usability features. One is the screwless M.2 Shield Frozzer with a magnetic connector in there. And let me show you, let me make some space first. And then let me show you what this looks like on the Ace. So the screwless M.2 Shield Frozzer is actually quite easy. If you push this down, you can take off the M.2 Shield Frozzer. You don't need any screws or other tools. So it's very easy to take off. The thing with this M.2 Shield Frozzer is that there's also RGB lighting in the Ace logo. However, you don't want to have separate cables for this. So if you take off your M.2 shield frozzer, you still have to plug tiny RGB cables out. You may damage the pins, all those kind of things. So we actually have a nice magnetic connector here, and this will power the RGB lighting in this M.2 shield frozzer. So when we take a look at the motherboard, you will see that magnetic connector on the other end. So that way you don't have to worry about unplugging any cables. It will automatically disconnect and reconnect once you take off the screwless M.2 shield.
Is that
frozzer.
addressable RGB?
I believe it is actually, yeah. But I'm not 100% certain if it can do like multicolor and those kind of things. I'm not 100% certain. Should check that out. So screwless M.2 shield frozzer, of course, available on the Ace, but nowadays you will find it on more models as well. Let me put this back on. There we go. Because we used to have this on MEG and MPG models on the Z790 series, but now we also have it on our MAG Z790 Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi. So can you go to the close-up?
Yep.
So here you also have a screwless and a two shield frozzer, whereas with the original C790 Tomahawk, this was still done with screws. So this is also where you can see that these kind of new features are also becoming available more often on more affordable models. Easy M.2 clip is actually available on all the Z790 MAX models, and let me take this back off. If you have the M.2 slot, there is a small clip right here, so you don't have a tiny screw to fix your SSD in place. You just put in the SSD, you put the clip up, and it's installed. I don't think I have an SSD on hand right now, but if you're curious about this, we've demonstrated this in earlier live streams also with the Z790 boards, and it makes the SSD installation process extremely easy. So you don't need any tools if you have both the screwless M.2 shield frozzer and the easy M.2 clip in order to install an M.2 SSD. CJ Bill says, those end-sized M.2 screws are so difficult to use. Yeah, I totally agree.
Nightmare.
They're very annoying tiny screws, so that's why we're coming up with solutions to avoid them as well.
Screws.
Yeah. Then let me show you a new feature for the Z790 MAX models. So we haven't had this yet in our earlier generation. And that's a separate header. It's called the JAF1 header. And the motherboards.
Let's make up a new name.
Yeah, I actually don't know where it stands for exactly.
Addressable fan header.
JRGB,
addressable fan header.
ARGB and fan, because that's kind of what it does. So I would assume those are in the name. But our MPG and MEG motherboards come with this cable. This will be plugged into the JAF header. And on this side, you will get both an addressable RGB cable. So basically, it gives you an extra header. And it comes with a 4-pin PWM fan connector. So with this header, you basically get an extra RGB and an extra fan header. But it also means that in certain places, it's much easier to connect when you just route it through the back. So for cable management, can also be quite a nice feature. I will also quickly show you what it looks like on the motherboard. Let me put these back on.
So this is something what I needed to have some live streams ago with all the cable mess with that the RGB wasn't working.
Yeah, because actually, for example, if you route this to the back of your motherboard tray, then it's easier to connect it through the back. You only run the single connector to the front and plug it into your motherboard. So let me quickly grab the edge. This is an MPG board, so this one, for example, has that feature. And here the header is located right there.
What was it called? JAF?
Yeah, JAF1,
JAF.
This one is called. And it's basically a combination of the addressable RGB header and a PWM fan header 4-pin.
We don't have a lot of information about this, meaning like, is this an industry standard? Is this something we made up ourselves? How this will go in the future? But, you know, in a I don't want to say in a When we have a next generation CPU live stream, talk about performance, for sure we'll have more details. That was a good solution for me, Mike, right?
Yeah.
Without mentioning any dates or, because we don't know.
But yeah, right now it gives you additional addressable RGB and fan connectors.
Yeah.
Then a bunch more of DIY friendly features. So pre-installed I/O shield you will find on all Z790 MAX models. So you see that this is really getting more and more mainstream. In the past, this was specifically a feature for higher end models. Now it's accessible on a lot of different models. So Z790 MAX, all boards, including the Pro one, offer pre-installed I/O shield. So no fiddling around with a separate shield anymore. Front USB Type-C also present on all Z790 MAX models, including the Pro one. The gaming models come with a USB drive for the drivers and the utilities. The easy front panel cable we talked about. The Ace, the Godlike and the Carbon have a dedicated smart button. That one is located right here. So you have the clear CMOS, then you have the flash BIOS button, and there is a third button there. That one can be programmed through the BIOS. So for example, you can make this a mystic light switch. So you press it and you
Do you still have your
automatically
protection cover on there?
Yeah, I do. You want me to take that off?
Why not?
Some nice peeling.
Yeah.
So that's better.
Yeah, that's better.
Oh, but this one you can program in the BIOS, and for example, you can switch on and off the lighting with it, or you can program it as a reset button or anything like that. I think it's a nice button to have. Of course, it will be located on the back of your case, but if you want to have like a quick switch, we actually also have the easy LED switch on the motherboard itself. So there is a small switch right there. With that, you can also switch off all the RGB lighting easily, but of course that's inside your case. If you want to do that from the outside of your case, then a nice smart button on the back can help you there. This is something that is on Godlike, Ace and Carbon. CJ Bill says smart button. You press it and it tells you an interesting fact. That's maybe a feature we should add for the smart button. Then debug LED. So the Godlike, Ace and Carbon.
Oh, Jonathan is saying we are in the Starfield category on Twitch. Yeah, we did some Starfield last week and a week prior to that. Seems we didn't update that.
Yes.
Mike, can you make sounds of stars?
How does a star sound then?
I don't know.
I have no idea either.
I mean,
I know from
then we qualify for the category.
I know how a certain star sounds. That's a Mario. Can you switch to the close-up?
Yeah, sure.
So here you basically, for debugging, you get an error code, and it's easy to identify the problem. If it's, for example, a certain memory error or whatever, you can get it through the code. This is on Godlike, Ace and Carbon, and then there is we have the easy LED debugging as well.
You don't want to get a code.
No, you don't want to get a code, because that means you have issues. On other motherboards, we also have the easy debug LEDs, and they're located right there. So then you can see whether the issue is like a CPU issue or a graphics card issue or a memory issue. So it basically cycles through and stops at the one where the issue is, so you know where to search first. MEG boards also come with dual BIOS, so there is, I already showed you the switch for the LEDs. Right next to that one, there is another switch, and that one switches the BIOS. So for example, if you're flashing your BIOS and for whatever reason it's unsuccessful, you still have another BIOS to switch to. This is very handy, for example, when you want to do overclocking as well, and you have some kind of corrupted BIOS or anything like that. That way you can easily switch to your secondary BIOS.
And Mike, are you going to talk about sound chips? Because Son Goku on TikTok is asking what kind of sound chip do we have?
I think it depends per model, but most, I believe, have the
But you don't have any slides or information about that, right?
I don't think I have like
or maybe later when we talk about detailed models.
But it should be the ALC 4080 for most of them. Some of them specifically
have USB audio.
Yeah, some of them, like the MEG models, they come with an additional ESS deck, for example. and a headphone amplifier, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Backplate design we already talked about. That's something specifically for the MEG model. So that's something you'll find on Godlike and Ace, not the other ones. Talk about audio.
Hey.
Yeah.
What a timing.
So ALC 4080. I believe that one is on all boards apart from Godlike and Ace. Those are the 4082, and those come with the ESS audio deck and a dedicated headphone amplifier as well. That's also what we call the Audio Boost HD. The other boards have the regular Audio Boost 5. Then addressable RGB. The headers on these boards are Gen 2 addressable RGB headers, and this allows for more precise tuning of your RGB. So you can, for example, with a Mystic Light, put like individual LEDs. So if you have like an LED strip, I want to have the left in red and the right in blue, or you can have like one LED red, one blue, etc., etc. You can do whatever you want there.
Yeah, we also demoed this in earlier live streams.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, it gives you more
maybe we can go more detail in one of the future live stream because we're going to talk about new Assassin's Creed, and there we're also going to talk more about ambient link.
Yes. Then we will have a new feature in MSI Center together with VoiceMod. So maybe you're already familiar with VoiceMod. We already covered them a bit in an earlier live stream as well. VoiceMod is a very nice piece of software that kind of changes your voice to whatever you want. So you can just use a regular gaming headset or a proper microphone, it doesn't really matter. But it can, for example, make you sound like a robot, or make you sound like the President of the United States, or you have all different kinds of voice effects in it. It's really cool. And by integrating this into MSI Center, we can actually also combine this with our Mystic Light. So for example, the lights respond to what you're doing in voice mode. So
also for this, we will have a live stream.
Yeah, indeed. We will after definitely. Panori in Grey already says demo. We will do a live stream about this, where we will definitely demo this as well.
I think that's in 3 weeks' time. We'll have. We also will invite the guys from VoiceMod. They're from Spain. They will join us during the live stream, so you guys can ask questions, and we will go in depth.
Yeah. So if you're interested in the new VoiceMod feature, make sure to join that live stream. Also, this feature together with VoiceMod is supported on a lot of devices. It's not just motherboards, but also graphics cards, memory, keyboard, mouse, liquid cooler headsets. So you can do a lot of RGB stuff with it. So way more than just motherboards. But we will definitely tell you more about this in the dedicated live stream. So make sure to join that one too. And then let's go through all the different models one by one. But before we do that, another giveaway.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
otherwise.
Good timing. Sorry for the coughing, by the way. I'm still recovering a bit. So, we are... Eric is dying.
Let me know if you need to take over.
If you haven't participated yet, go to msi.com/2/insider, because we're giving away Exoprimal game codes today. Okay. And if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, you can also follow the direct link that our bot will put in the chat once every 5 minutes. And Eric, who's our next winner?
I knew you would ask that. Aldrichenko.
Congratulations. You also won a game code for Exoprimal. So please keep an eye out on your mailbox, and we'll email it to you in the coming days with some instructions on how to redeem it. Congratulations. And if you're already signed up, don't worry, we will still have at least a drawing later in this live stream. Maybe even more than one. But let's first go through the different models, starting with the model we actually don't have on hand today. But I still want to show you some details on what it's all about. And that's the MEG Z790 Godlike MAX. So this comes with the most extreme VRM solution of any of these boards. It's 26 times 105 amp smart power stages specifically for the CPU. So that's really extreme. It has all the high-end cooling features, fin-stack heatsink, cross heat pipe, already U-shaped heatsink because of the component location. It has 7 M.2 slots on the board itself, so even without adding cards, you have 7 M.2 slots. It also supports PCI Express Gen 5. It comes with an NVISION dashboard that we talked about. It has both 10 gigabit LAN and 2.5 gigabit LAN. Comes with dual Thunderbolt 4, of course Wi-Fi 7, Audio Boost 5 HD with the ESS deck. Screwless M.2 shield also with the magnetic thing we talked about earlier, metal backplate, pre-installed I/O shield, power delivery over the front USB Type-C. Of course, make sure you get a case that also supports this if you want to use it. The smart button that you can program through the BIOS, the new JAF header that you can use for the RGB and the fans. And of course DDR5 and PCI Express Gen 5
People
support.
are asking how to get a new kidney because they already sold it.
Oh, that's a pity.
Yeah, all the Shike edition. Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically the most extreme board. If you just need basic functionality, then of course the Godlike is not the board for you. But this is just going all out on what you can fit on a motherboard in terms of feature set.
But I think Mr. Master Dogs was commenting, I mean, these kind of high-end, extreme, over-the-top boards, yes, there is a market for that. Because otherwise we wouldn't develop that.
This is for the type of people, if you ask them, what do you want on a motherboard, they answer with yes.
Yeah.
That's what the Godlike is for.
Yeah.
More Peanut Butter is asking, when will 10 gigabit LAN come to more boards? First of all, when it becomes more affordable. Right now, 10 gigabit LAN controllers are relatively expensive still.
Yeah.
2.5 gigabit is way more affordable nowadays than it used to be. That's why all these boards at least come with 2.5 gigabit LAN.
Actually, our goal was to come with 5 gigabit LAN on these ones, and I think a lot of other vendors would do as well. However, the production schedule didn't meet the timing of the motherboards.
Yeah.
So in the beginning when you plan something, and that's like 1 year ago, 9 months ago, you have some ideas what kind of new technology you want to put on your main board, like what we did with Wi-Fi 7, etc. And one of the things on our list was also Intel, of not Intel, but just 5 gigabit LAN. And yeah, in the end the schedule didn't catch up. So yeah, probably you see that next generation. Not sure when, or like somewhere in 2024.
Question YouTube chat, what kind of chip is in the 10 gigabit connector, where it's come from? It's a Marvel 10 gigabit chip.
Yeah.
So the Godlike has both the Marvel 10 gigabit and the Intel 2.5 gigabit.
Okay, so this one, unfortunately we don't have a sample to show you.
But let's continue with the Ace, and there we do have a sample. Which is a very heavy sample.
You're weak.
So this is our MEG Z790 Ace Max motherboard. As you can see, it's a bit bigger than a regular motherboard. It's a bit wider, especially because this is an extended ATX motherboard. It comes with 24 smart power stages specifically for the CPU. It also has a power stage for an iGPU. So on this board, you can of course use the iGPU, or if you want to use techniques like Intel QuickSync and stuff, on this board you can. They are 105 amp smart power stage, so extremely high-end VRM still. You have the thin array heatsink. You can easily see it from the top. Gives you a lot of surface area. What do you want to do with the screwdriver, Eric? What do you want me to take apart?
I saw some suggestions in the chat.
Oh, want to remove some components? Okay. What do we want to have removed? I can screw some parts off.
Actually, they want me to do it.
Oh, they want you to do it. Oh, we can switch for a moment. Eric, come here.
Is it working?
After you touched it, no?
No, better I don't touch it.
That's true. Want me to take it apart?
They say go naked, and they're talking not about you, Mike.
But let's see how much time we still need for the other ones, and maybe at the end.
Maybe let's do that whenever we I'm not allowed to say the time. Whenever the CPU launches, I mean.
Yeah, that's maybe a good one. Yeah.
Then we can go naked, skinny dipping.
Yes. So I was talking about the FinStack heatsink.
Yeah, we watch the YouTube comments.
You can see it on the top there. It also has the cross heat pipe, so it has two heat pipes. Let me see where I can. It's a bit hard to show you because they're really inside the heatsink. Maybe you can see it a bit there. I think you can, underneath there. It is, of course, the U-shaped heat pipe as well because of the component placement of the VRM components. It has 5 M.2 slots. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This may look like one. This is not an M.2 slot. This is just to make it look pretty on this side. But the M.2 slots are all located on the bottom part of the motherboard.
Debugs red, are they white or red? LED on top?
That's a good question, actually.
That's a good question.
It's a very good question. I'm not sure.
When we do the performance live stream, you can see.
Yes.
I mean, if we have one which is working, but and we will check.
Going to the I/O, because that one is quite extreme on this this board, as you can see.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It comes with dual LAN. In this situation, it's not a 10 gigabit like on the Godlike. So this is dual Intel 2.5 gigabit LAN. It comes with a ton of USB ports, and 2 of those are the Type-C ports right there, and those also support Thunderbolt. The one over there is not a Thunderbolt port. This is just a normal USB Type-C port. And these are Thunderbolt 4 ports. Here you see 2 mini DisplayPort inputs. That's if you want to connect your graphics card to it, so you can also get the display signal over those Thunderbolt ports. Of course, you have the antenna points for the Wi-Fi 7 solution.
Not for the chopsticks?
Not for the chopsticks. You can actually use, it is compatible with the chopsticks, but I would recommend to go with the higher end antenna that you will find in the box.
Well, they're in the box indeed, yeah.
Yeah. It has all the buttons here, so the smart button we talked about, but also clear CMOS, the flash BIOS button, quite extensive audio part with SPDIF output as well. So a very well equipped motherboard. It also has some nice buttons if you want to use it on a test bench, for example for overclocking. You have power and reset buttons here as well. Let me see, did I forget anything? Of course, on the back, the big aluminum backplate. Here you have the front Type-C with power delivery support. So if you connect this power connector here, you can get up to 60 watt power delivery on the front USB Type-C. Yeah, I think that's mostly it for the ACE. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I will continue with the Carbon. So
this is with the add-in card, the USB 4 100 watt PD power delivery add-in card, but that one we don't have on hand.
No. I only have the motherboard today, unfortunately, but in case you get this board in the store, we can do some peeling. There we go. In case you get this board in the store, it will come with the USB 4 power delivery 100 watt expansion card.
I see more blue peels, Mike.
Oh, I will do some more peeling then. There we
go.
More. And there we go.
Probably the I/O panel?
There is no peel on the I/O panel anymore.
Then you already did that.
There we go. So this is what the Carbon looks like.
So no, ACE does not have an add-in card?
No. The add-in card is specifically for the Carbon. The ACE already comes with dual Thunderbolt 4. This one also has extended heatsink with heat pipe. Let me see if there is a place to show you the heat pipe. It's always quite well hidden. Yeah, I can actually see it a bit from this side.
Yeah, the silver dot.
There you can see it. There. That's the heat pipe, and that will also go through this side. It has some nice RGB lighting on this part. It has 19 smart power stages, 105 amp specifically for the CPU. It also comes with a power stage for the iGPU, so you can use this with an iGPU. You can use Intel QuickSync with it. It has 5 M.2 slots in total. Of course, also supports PCI Express Gen 5. When we take a look at the I/O, you see that there is a single LAN port in this situation. It's 2.5 gigabit Intel LAN. You have a bunch of USB ports. You have dual USB Type-C, and one of them is a 10 gigabit per second port. The other one is a 20 gigabit per second port. You you have the Smart button, the Clear CMOS button, the Flash BIOS button. You have DisplayPort. Sorry, it's not. It's an HDMI output right there in case you want to use it with the iGPU. In this motherboard segment, I don't expect many people to use the iGPU, but it can be nice for debugging in case you need it. Audio ports, including SPDIF output. Also comes with the JAF header, and of course with the nice cable to get the extra fan header and addressable RGB header. And I think that's mostly it for this board. If you have any questions about it, let us know.
Yeah, so in RGB, we will show you another time. Do you know which boards are working? You have on hand?
Oh, some, because we have some early samples.
Yeah,
I
like
think
always.
most are working to a certain point.
like can you trust the CPU on it?
I think it depends. I don't know from the top of my head which ones are the ones that should work properly and which ones.
Otherwise when we do this performance live stream we were talking about, we will also show off some RGB on the boards.
Indeed. But usually for these kind of live streams, because we need to have the samples early, we get engineering samples and they do not always work properly. Some of them have already been abused quite a lot.
Draven, please wait a bit, then we talk about B760.
Yes, because I have two models to show you there as well. But first, I'm going to continue with the MPG Z790 Edge TI Max Wi-Fi.
Peels.
Peels? Where do you see a peel?
I didn't say that I saw one.
Ah, okay, because there is none.
Oh, okay, cool.
This has already been peeled. So this motherboard also comes with extended heatsink, but also with a heat pipe in there. Now, I found a spot where you can properly see it. See, next to the power connector, there's a heat pipe. This one also has some nice RGB right there.
So it will look like on the slide.
Yes, there you can see it illuminated indeed. It has 16 90 amp smart power stages specifically for the CPU. It also comes with a power stage for the iGPU.
Mike, is it silver or white?
It's a very light silver, I would say.
Yeah, because Alan is saying that's a lot of white, but yeah, it really depends on the studio. Let me see how the board looks compared.
It is like a very light silver with some, it's a bit hard to see, with some darker silver elements on it, like you can see here, for example.
Maybe in the main cam it will look a bit different? No. So I would say this
but it is a very bright motherboard, for sure.
Bright like smart?
That too. This one also comes with 5 M.2 slots, also with PCI Express Gen 5 on one of the slots. It has screwless M.2 Shield Frozzer on the primary one. Of course, Wi-Fi 7 support. On the I.O. we have 2.5 gigabit Intel LAN as well, right there. You have 2x USB Type-C, and that one is 10 gigabit per second, that one is 20 gigabit per second, a whole bunch of other USB ports. The audio outputs with SPDIF output as well. You get both DisplayPort and HDMI display outputs, and then there is a clear CMOS button there and the Flash BIOS button right there. And as you can see, the pre-installed I.O. shield is also in the color scheme of the rest of the motherboard. Alan JT says it will sure stand out with RGB light strips. Yeah, I think in general, like the very bright builds, like the light silver, white kind of builds. For example, the Starfield build also that we did a couple of weeks ago. In those kind of builds, RGB looks really cool because of the reflections on the light surfaces. Yeah. So it really pops more than when you would have a black system. So if you're into RGB,
on TikTok wants to have a VGA card. You have one, Mike?
Sorry? That?
Jamie on TikTok wants to have a VGA card. You have one on hand?
Not on hand.
Okay. Sorry.
I do have one though.
We tried.
Then let's continue with the MAG Z790 Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi.
Yeah, for this I'm going to disable our
green screen. Because if you're familiar with our segmentation, the MAG segment has this very cool, it is kind of yellowish, greenish accent. And we also included that on our motherboard. But because we use a green screen with chroma key, it kind of keys away parts of the motherboard. So
I even don't know how to disable it.
Use right click on the camera.
Yeah, but there's no camera.
No, this. That
Oh,
one.
this one.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
And then go to filters. Down. Yes.
Yeah, I
Edit
got
filters
it, I got
and
it.
click on the eye.
Disabled.
There we go. And now you can see what it really looks like.
Maybe we should ditch the green screen.
So let us know what you think of this design, because this is a bit different than we had in the previous generation. It has some brighter elements in there.
So the QR code, can I scan it or is that still a peel off?
This is a peel off actually, and this is with an explanation of how to use the screwless M.2 shield frother. But I can peel it off if you want. There we go. And that's where the QR code is if you want to see a video about this. So if you're quick, then you can now scan this code. And
they
you can watch the
probably
video.
have your fingerprint as well, so they can enter your bank account.
Yeah. Now, if you scan this code, you see all the NDA information that we have within MSI, all our future product plans.
Alan's is saying nice with
Just
UV lighting. That would be interesting. Let's try that next time.
Yeah, that's
How
what
that
we
would look.
Yeah.
How that would look.
About the specs, it also has 16 smart power stages, 90 amps specifically for the CPU. It also has a power stage for an iGPU in case you want to use it. It has extended cooling for the VRM. This one comes with 4 M.2 slots in total. One of them, of course, with PCI Express Gen 5 support. It has, on the I/O, 2.5 gigabit LAN. It has dual Type-C, where that one is 10 gigabit per second and that one is 20. A whole bunch of Type-A ports in different speeds, so 5 and 10 gigabit per second. 20, by the way, is always in Type-C. So if you see the Type-A ports, they're never 20 gigabit per second. They're either 5 or 10. Then you have a bunch of audio ports, including SPDIF output, the Wi-Fi 7, of course. You have DisplayPort output and an HDMI output as well. So that's what
Mike, for the screwless M.2, can you show the hook it's using?
Yes, I can. So right here, this is what you need to push down. And
like a button?
Yeah, it's a bit hard. Let me put it down, otherwise I drop it. And then you can take it off. There we go.
And can you show it in detail, the back side? Yeah, like that.
So here is a thermal pad. And because
no, I'm more talking about the mechanics, how it locks.
Basically, this is where you shove it in, and then here you can see the mechanism to lock and unlock it.
Focus a bit. Yeah, better. Well, not really better, but...
Hello, camera.
You're at least doing your best.
There we go.
Yeah, perfect, perfect.
And this is the double-sided one, so you get thermal pads on both sides.
Is the bottom PCI Express slot X16 or and is it from the CPU or chipset?
The bottom one is from the chipset and it's a ×4. So you can see that by the soldering on the back. If it would have been a full ×16, it would have stretched all the way over here.
Yeah,
so
mechanically connected.
Yeah. It is physically the big one you will find on an X16. So you can also put the bigger cards in there. But it will have 4 lanes from the chipset available.
I think there are not many motherboards which use like a physical X4 slot.
The thing is, you have a limited number of lanes
in the back, right?
Sorry?
You used to have those PCI Express slots which were open in the back, those PCI Express 4 slots.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you can. Ooh, maybe we still have that on certain boards. Ooh, you want to see a sneak peek of the B760? Because Eric, I think you're talking about this, right?
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
So that means you can stick a bigger card in there, but it will just stick out there.
Yeah.
It will still function, by the way, but it won't have the full 16 lanes available. Well, now that I'm showing you this board anyway, or shall we first go to the Pro model? Yeah, let's first go to the Pro. So we've had all Z790 boards before we go into the new B760s. There we go. This
one is no RGB.
It has RGB headers, but not on the board
in the
itself.
heatsink.
Yeah. So this is our Pro Z790 -A MAX Wi-Fi, and as you can see, it looks quite a bit different from our Pro boards from the current generation, because right now they are mostly black, with black heat sinks, but some silver accents. And this one has silver heat sinks with some black
Another whiteboard.
It's not white, it's also silver more.
Alan,
let us know
don't
what
get
you
too
think, by the
excited.
way.
You soon need to go to bed.
But let us know what you think. Do you prefer the more black color scheme with silver accents, or the more silver one with black accents? I'm curious what you guys think. But it is definitely different from what we have in the current generation. This one has 16 80 amp smart power stages for the CPU. It also has a power stage for an iGPU in case you want to use it. It has extended heatsink design, so it stretches all the way over the I/O ports. It has 4 M.2 slots. In this situation, it's up to Gen 4, so there's no PCI Express Gen 5 slot on this board. There is a slot here, there is a slot right there. This one comes without M.2 Shield Frozr, and there are 2 slots here with M.2 Shield Frozr. So 4 slots and 3 times M.2 Shield Frozr. When we look at the I/O, you see it does have an integrated I/O shield pre-installed. It has 2.5 gigabit LAN Intel. It has Wi-Fi 7, of course, audio ports with SPDIF output. It has a single USB Type-C right there, and that's a 20 gigabit per second one. Then we have a bunch of Type-A ports, all the way varying from USB 2.0 to USB 3, 5 gigabit and 10 gigabit per second, depending on the port. And it comes with both DisplayPort and HDMI display outputs, as well as a flash BIOS button right here. So no clear CMOS on this model, only a flash BIOS button. Okay, I see Alan says, my preference is black. Fongfei says, I love silver and white.
Too many
silver
options.
looks good. Black and silver. Sired says more black. I see it's a bit mixed. Some people seem to prefer this version and some seem to prefer the black version. Nicholas says, I like how Tomahawk has clear CMOS on the back as well. I think it's a nice feature to have. It's very easily accessible if you run into any issues. So those were the Z790 boards, but as promised, we would also show you some new B760 boards. And both of those are micro ATX boards. Let me quickly make some space right here.
You don't have a slide for that?
I do.
Oh, you also do? Okay,
I do.
Cool.
First one I want to show you is the MPG B760M. M stands for the micro ATX. Edge TI Wi-Fi. So as you can see, quite a lot smaller because of the micro ATX form factor. Micro ATX is always a difficult one because a lot of people see it as like a more entry-level form factor, so for the cheaper motherboards. But then every now and then we also get the request from people, hey, when are you launching a higher end micro ATX motherboard? So currently we only had up to the MAG segment in this form factor on the B760 chipset. This one is an MPG board, so it's a little bit higher end than what you will see in, for example, our Mortar, which is an MAG board. Oh, I see some people who are asking for peeling.
Oh, okay, please, Mike, can you, for the M.2 peel, can you please do it correctly because somebody died almost of OCD.
Oh, what did I do wrong?
Well, you peeled it off from the wrong side.
Oh, I didn't use the blue thingy, you mean?
Indeed.
Oh, look.
No,
just to trigger your OCD from the wrong side.
Mike.
I just did it. Okay, and then to satisfy your OCD from the blue one here. There we go. Fully peeled.
Next time I will not give any comments because...
This one also has extended heatsink design. Comes with some nice RGB in the cover as well. Here you see the extended heatsink stretching all over the I/O ports. It has 12 times 75 amp Dr. Moss for the CPU. It also has power for the iGPU in case you want to use that. It has 3 M.2 slots. All of them are PCI Express Gen 4. One there, one there, and one there. When we go to the I/O, we have 2.5 gigabit LAN. We also have Wi-Fi, but in this situation it's not Wi-Fi 7, but Wi-Fi 6E. Of course, this is a B-series chipset. It's Slightly lower end than Z790, of course. So it does come with Wi-Fi, but no Wi-Fi 7 yet. So this is Wi-Fi 6E. It does, however, have a USB-C 20 gigabit per second port. It also has the nice flash BIOS button right there. Bunch of USB Type A ports as well. It also comes with the screwless M.2 shield Frozzer actually. That's of course the primary slot, so you can also easily take it off. It also has a double-sided M.2 shield Frozzer with heat sinks and thermal pads on both sides. There we go. So that's our new MPG B760M Edge TI Wi-Fi. Then we have another new B760 Micro ATX board. And this may look a little bit more familiar to what you may be already used to from our B760 lineup, because this is another mortar. This is the MAG B760M Mortar Wi-Fi 2. So this is an upgraded version of our existing B760M Mortar Wi-Fi. It comes with, I see that the socket cap is not properly on, so let me first fix that before it pops open. There we go. It comes with 12 times 75 amp Dr. Moss for the CPU. It also has power for the iGPU if you want to use it. It has extended heatsink design, stretching all the way over the I/O. It has three M.2 slots. So the previous version, the first version of the B760M Mortar Wi-Fi, had dual M.2. This one has triple. Two of them have M.2 shield Frozzer. The middle one does not. All of them are also PCI Express Gen 4. When we go to the I/O, there we go. It comes with 2.5 gigabit LAN, also Wi-Fi, but like with the B760M Edge, this is also Wi-Fi 6E. So no Wi-Fi 7, but Wi-Fi 6E. A bunch of USB ports. It also has the USB Type-C 20 gigabit per second port right there. And the slot is PCI Express Gen 5. So not an M.2 slot, but it does have it on the PCI Express slot. So that's our MAG B760M Mortar Wi-Fi 2. Of course, these boards are also compatible with next-gen Intel CPUs, and of course with the existing 12th and 13th gen Intel CPUs as well. Okay, Ilya says, I like the look of the mortar, it's clean and minimal. Yeah, I agree. Like the edge is a little bit more flashy. It has some RGB in there. Mortar is more toned down. Edge will be a bit more expensive. It's slightly higher end than a mortar. But in case you don't want to have the flashy features of the Edge, then mortar is a very good alternative, I think. So, that's it from my side, Eric. Let's maybe draw another winner for the giveaway.
Let me count how many I have.
Do you already have more winners than codes to give away?
No. Four. I have 4 winners, and just to double check. Game codes. Should be like that.
Eric just finds out he only has 2 game codes to give away.
No. Okay, Mike, 3 more.
3 more?
Yeah, 3 more.
Oh, I'm glad you are sending them now tomorrow.
Am I?
Yes. No, you are.
Oh my God. Okay, we don't have any winners today. Thank you all. So the next one, I don't know how to pronounce this. Ilyas, yes, I would say.
Yeah, yes, I think. Congratulations, you also won a game code for Exo Primal.
Cosplay 89.
Congratulations.
And Ian.
I think there may be multiple Ians.
This is a different Ian.
So if you're an Ian and you're not sure if it's you, if you find an email in your inbox in the coming days, then you were the winner. If you don't find it,
he told me he's from Australia and this is a different country.
Okay. So congratulations, all winners again.
Or maybe he's traveling. That's
quickly
also
summarizing:
possible.
Path of Sky, The Traveler, Farmalot. Oh, that's Adrichenko.
Aldrichenko.
Aldrichenko. Ilyas, Cosplay 89, and Ian. You all won a game code for Exo Primal. So please check your email in the coming days, and we will send you the codes with some instructions.
Yeah.
Then,
so
next week?
Yeah, next week we're going to dive into Payday 3. Really fun game. Just launched. I think tomorrow.
I think it still has to launch.
Yeah, tomorrow.
I think tomorrow
indeed.
yeah.
Week after, I need to check my schedule. What I can tell you.
Ooh.
I mean, that's not NDA. So week after, we're going to look into Assassin's Creed. We will have Ubisoft in the live stream, so we can talk with them. We're going to talk about Ambient Link. So that's Assassin's Creed Mirage. It is. We're going to talk about Ambient Link because everything works together. The week
So you can get all your RGB lights respond to the game. Very cool thing.
And the week after that, we're going to do voice mod. So, and maybe we will have some gaming gear in that, like a new headset. Not 100% sure.
Can you go back to the chat, maybe, Eric, to see if we have some last questions?
Sorry, probably everybody
you
left.
go.
Anyway.
Uncle Elias has a good recommendation. All Ians, check your email and spam.
Giga, he's in the hospital next week. Oh, that's well. I hope everything is fine with you.
Ooh.
It's not because of the OCD mic cost, so I'm happy with that at least. That we're not a root cause. So good luck. If you need it.
Good luck, Gigaram. Stay strong. Action
Voice.
Brothers says voice mod banana. No, that's voice meter.
Yeah, that's voice
meter is
meter.
a different tool than voice
Voice
mod.
mod is something else. You can do funny voices. Has a soundboard. Actually, when I'm playing with my friends, Call of Duty, I mean, I'm getting crazy of this this soundboard. They're really fun. So that is for the coming weeks, and that's it for today.
Yes.
So wherever you are, good night, good morning.
Thank you so
Have
much
a nice
for
day,
watching.
at least nice week, and a nice weekend.
And hope to see you again next week, same place, same time.
Different people.
Yes, for sure.
Well, at least you will not be
I'm not
here.
here next week.
No,
Maybe the
okay.
week after.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.